And welcome to day two of our summer, what am I calling this? Summer education. I gave all my teachers a break from teaching the regular classes this week so they could focus on a lot of other things for 1 week. And I said, well, we can't get rid of education. So we have this week three different product feature classes, which hopefully have some music and some education on different series of instruments. Today's class is going to be focusing on intermediate size models. Now, that could be quite a few. So, obviously, I have a journey here. There's a fanfare that's very similar. And then in the S series, I have back behind me a Legacy, which is the SU300. Other models that we classified as intermediate in this day and age would be some of the classic models, I would say classic, vintage. Premieres, very similar, so I'll refer to them when I'm on that model. Odyssey, there could be Encore, Holiday Classic, even going back further back in time to organs like a Century, Fiesta Director. There's going to be a lot of similarities in some of the things I teach on there. So I'm going to bounce back and forth a little bit between the two models. But sometimes I like to get started with a little bit of music. So that way, let me change my view here so I can see everybody's happy face. And if someone's sleeping, I'll tell Sean in the chat, screen share them on the screen. And one other thing that I like to do is put my phone on airplane mode. That's my camera. Because if it rings, I'm going to, it'll disrupt the camera. So we'll open up with a little song first to kind of get things going, and then I'll jump right into the class. So here we go. I did this one actually last week in an event, and I liked it so much I said, I'm going to play it again. Okay, pay very close attention, Lourdes. I just realized this was one that you asked about. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. And the crowd roars. Ah! I don't have my applaud button today, but I will. Actually, I think I can get it set up on over here. But anyway, that was an opening number with the song Wipeout. The name of the style is actually called Surfs Up. Now, that style actually exists on some of the models from way back, some of the SU series models that were introduced, the Royales and what have you. And so on this particular model, they actually put it on there. And I'm looking for a special feature that I'm going to actually use in just a little bit, if I can find it. Oh, here we go. So I can do that. And let's see. So this way, I'm ready every time. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hold the applause. Boy, that was a lot of work to do that, huh? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this. I'm going to push memorize a. I'm going to save that on the preset. So whenever I want my own applause, in case you guys don't applaud for me. Okay, so we have a couple of models in the intermediate size groups. What I'm going to try to do is cater most of the class to everybody, and then there's going to be some that'll cater to just that series and this series. But I would advise you to take really good notes, because I noticed, I'm noticing that some of you actually have a model similar to this, a Fanfare or a Journey. I know some of you have one of the larger models, like the Sterlings, the Patriots, the Symphonies, organs like that, or Marquis even. So everything that I will teach today will apply to anything that's larger. And if you have something similar, obviously this is going to work great. But let's start with something that's near and dear to my heart, and that is music styles. And think back when you first started. 99% of the time, in all my years, anybody that I met that was introduced to the hobby of music making, recreational music making, what most people get involved by playing, the reason is they believe it can be done. So if you started with us, started learning to play music you've never played before, what typically got someone believing that it can be done is some salesperson took you over to a beginner's model and said, watch how easy this is. And then with the touch of one button, one note, you got all this music happening. So that wasn't just half the battle, that was like 80% of the battle. So by just pressing one note with a music style, you get all this music happening. And that usually ignites this encouragement that, hey, I can do this and have some fun doing it as well. And then, of course, we add the melody with our other hand. So music styles, to me, is the reason why thousands of people, literally thousands and thousands and thousands over the years, is why people got involved. And so I'm going to start today's class with a little bit on exploring rhythm styles and looking at them a little bit differently than you already do. Okay? So, with that said, here's something that applies to every model in the Lowry line for as long as I can remember. Is my head cut off? Can you see my head still? Okay, I have to remember the view of this. I'm the headless teacher. I'll try to remember to lean over. So if you noticed on the instrument, if you want to mute yourself and respond, that'd be great. Group participation is good from time to time. So where are the rhythm styles on all of the Lowry organs?
Left.
Left side of the panel, right? Now, what color are the buttons?
Blue.
Blue. So for many years, we would always refer to saying the rhythm in blues. It was kind of an easy thing to remember. And if you notice, they're all in blue. And it's been that way since, gosh, even the late 80s, if I'm not mistaken. I know in the 90s for sure. So Lowry always strategically put the rhythm styles on the left panel, okay? Now, some of you have had your instrument for a length of time. You might have gotten used to using these styles. However, I'm going to hopefully give you a couple different ways of looking at this. First of all, if you want to find as many rhythm styles, there's a couple ways of doing this. One is what most people do. They open up their owner's manual, and they go in the very far back of the book, because that's where the rhythm chart is. While I'm talking about this, I'm going to put Sean on the spot. If you could find a rhythm chart, say of a Fanfare Journey, that might be a manual you have. And when you get it, just tell me, and then you can put it on the screen. But typically, most of the manuals have a rhythm style chart, and all the manuals I've explored is in the back of the book. And when I say the back, I don't know if it's the last page, but it's within the last several pages. And it'll give you the list of the buttons that are here or here, all right, whatever model you have. And it lists the category, and then it tells you that there's two different ways of looking at this. On the SUSEA models, this type of instrument, they have what's called variations. When the E series came out, they changed them to the word full band pianists and guitarists. All right? Uh-oh. I hear somebody. So the difference is it's called full band pianist and guitarist, but really what it is, it's a variation. Now there's a rhythm style chart as an example. That's one example. That one looks like the Journey one. All right, so it lists the button name on the left, and you'll see it says full band pianists and guitarists. Okay, full band is, think of that as a variation button, like a variation 1, 2, or 3. But the reason why they call it full band pianists and guitarists in there is simply that any of the styles under that row or column that you put on, like in the full band, it says Frank and the Count, Smooth Foxtrot, Swing Band, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When you turn it on, you get an actual, what it says. It's a full band. You get brass and sax and whatever the case is. The pianist group are styles that when you initially put it on, they're very predominantly piano-based styles. Sometimes it's just a piano-sounding style, and sometimes it might be a little bit more. It just depends. I'll try a few in just a second. And the guitarist, the same thing, all right? Now you can go away from that screen for a minute. The reason they came up with that idea at one time is because some of those were, in previous models, they were there. They called them something else, okay? But on this model here, I have big band, country, Broadway, so forth, and then there's a variation 1 and a 2, all right, and a basic. So for those of you who have this type of model. If you don't have a variation on, you're on what's called variation 0. So anybody that has an A series model, even the big ones, if you've got one of these selected and no variation on, you're in variation 0. That means that you got a style, okay? So I'll start here and I'll go there and give some examples. And then there's some other little trick that you can use on these. So I'm going to just put on, let's see here. How about I go to, let's see here. I'll just start with the big band button here. So if I put on the big band button and no variation 1 or 2, you get simply a classic, what they call the swing band style. And obviously most people want to play some Glenn Miller. Alright, I'll stop right there. Now if you put on variation 1, it now becomes a totally different big band style. In this case, they call it the swing train. This goes back before your time. I don't know if you know the name Glenn Miller. Glenn Miller had a lot of great hits, so that one obviously, they should have called the big band button the Glenn Miller button, right? And if you put on variation 2, you get a totally different one, which is called Chicago Swing. All right, simple enough, and so forth. So each button in this case represents 3, and then there's a basic button that's 4. So some of the models, the Odyssey has 1 variation, the Premier has a variation, the Encore, same thing. So each model has at least a variation that was encouraged to come today. Now, they're going to come over to a neat little trick here that you're going to want to explore at some point. Now let's come over to the Fanfare Journey type models. So they don't call them variations, as you saw. They're full band pianists and guitarists, all right? So I'm going to start off with the very first button, Standards. And in my window, when I press it, it says Frank and the Count and Smooth Foxtrot, okay? Now that is, for you Fanfare owners, that's the styles that you get under the Standards, okay? And then a lot of you have, the Fanfare has a group 2 button. So if you put on Standards full band, you get Franken the Count. And if you put standards full band with a group 2 button, it becomes Smooth Foxtrot. All right? So far, so good? Now, I noticed there's a Journey or two out there. The Journey has both of the Fanfare styles, but when I put it on, they put the 2 that I just mentioned, and then they have the additional 2 on the screen. All right? That's under full band. Now, I'll just play a couple examples. So same thing. Now, this one here sounds like this, Franken the Count. And you play. All right, if I do group 2 on the Fanfare, or I just go down 1 on here on the Journey, get Smooth Foxtrot. And Sean, this is what? This arrangement?
Oh, that's a Benny Goodman arrangement of the Artie Shaw hit Begin the Beguine.
It's pronounced Baggeen?
Beguine.
Oh, I thought it was called Beguine.
That's what I said.
It sounds like you're saying Baggeen.
Well, maybe I'm emphasizing.
Tomato,
Beguine.
tomato, but tomato,
Yeah,
tomato.
yeah.
Oh, it's one of those things. All right.
Beguine.
And so forth on every one of the categories. And of course, you Journey owners out there, there's 2 in each one of these as well. Now, if I go to the pianist, then it's another variation. So you get 2 more or 4 more. All right? So here's an example. I just put on standards pianist, and what I have on the screen is Jazz Club. Now just listen to the style for a minute, the introduction. So if you notice, it's predominantly piano background in there, okay? Now, some people love that but want to bring in the band. The secret to that is if you start using the setups on the instrument, which we'll talk about in a minute, it'll automatically bring in the rest of the band, but initially starts off with just kind of a piano player and a bass player, but the piano is what you predominantly hear. Hear it? Now let's push a preset over here. Now listen. I hit one of the setups, and what happened? The whole band came in, right? Oh, my head's cut off. This is being recorded. I don't want people to see. Just all right. And then, of course, one more example. I'll just stay on the standard so you can hear. Guitarist. It says guitar swing, gypsy rag. Now, here's one. I want to hear this one. Now, did that sound familiar? I played it over here, didn't I? And if you heard that introduction over here. So that style was over here. It wasn't classified as a guitarist back then because they didn't come up with that concept. Okay? They put that style from here into here. Where did they put it under the guitarist category? Why? You heard some of the band musicians, but if you notice, you hear the guitar player in there a lot. So not all of them are going to be just a piano guitar player playing in the background, but I'll go to another one so you hear this. Here, this Gypsy Rag. Now listen to this. Now in this case, it's strictly guitar player. Now if I bring in the rest of the band, so you have the choice of doing that as well. All right? Now, here's something that some of you probably use. Maybe you do it unintentionally, maybe you do it unintentionally. But it's something that was originally created back when this series was introduced. And what they did, it was on some of the styles, if you put on a rhythm, most of our songs are, if you've noticed, an easy play in the key of F, key of C, occasionally in G. And then we have some songs that are occasionally in a minor key, A minor and what have you. What's really cool is that these styles, if you like it, if you want it to sound a little bit different, you could probably do it by just simply hitting a minor chord. Now, for example, here is, let me go back to this one and tell me if you know what style this is called. And I'm not talking to my staff members, the students. That's hard doing it from that angle. That style is actually the same style that I played over here, the swing band that sounded like Glenn Miller, but I did a minor chord instead. Okay? So what's cool, what I encourage people to do is go through your rhythm styles, especially the ones that you like. Actually, probably the ones you don't like, because you might like it after you do a minor chord. Now, I'll put on a totally, someone give me a category of music. Big band, Broadway, Latin, soft and easy, Hawaiian, gospel, just give me a category of music. Anybody?
Latin.
Latin, okay. So I'm going to go to Latin, and I'm going to choose Latin guitar. That's the one that popped up on my screen. And here's a Latin guitar with a C chord. Now I have a setup on. If I turn off the setup and do the same thing, it'll be just a guitar. Okay? But we'll leave it on there. Here it is again. All right, that sounds pretty. All right, that's pretty, isn't it? Now we'll do the same style with a minor chord and listen to it. Ooh. Rico suave. So, as you can tell, you can do a lot of things with rhythm styles just by going through the variations and finding your minors or playing a minor chord. And sometimes you'll be surprised and you'll find something you go, wow, now that was just really amazing. I have a student here that I encourage to come in and see up close and personal. And the minute I did that in a minor chord, her eyes lit up because that's the first time she's heard that. So you'll probably have that moment when you go through some of the styles. You'll find one style and you go, wow, that was amazing.
Robert,
Yes,
what are the minor chords for C, F, and G?
there isn't.
Oh, so if I want to play a minor for C, what do I do?
Oh, okay. You mean okay. So if you want, here are two chords that I use. You want to write this
Okay.
down.
All right.
Here's two chords that I use for each one. Okay. So if the song's in the key of C, without getting too much into music theory, every key has what's called a relative minor, all right? And I'll tell you what they are for those three chords. So in the key of C, the relative minor is A minor. So if I was playing a song like Spanish Eyes, it starts off with a C chord, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would either start that song off with an A minor chord,
Okay.
or you can alternately use a C minor chord as well. And then your ears will tell you which one you like better. I tend to go with the relative minor, but that's just my preference. Okay? I've had some people use the C minor and go, okay, it works for me. It's not in the same key though, so, but you could do that. All right. Now,
Mhm.
the actual chord for an A minor, easy play or the full chord? I'll tell you both. The easy play is A and C. Some of you maybe not play full chords. Okay?
Okay, A and C.
And if you do the full chord, it's A, C, and an E. All right? But most important, A and the C for you easy play players out there. A C
Easy enough.
minor is C and E flat for the easy play. And then you add a G if you want to play the full chord.
Full chord.
Okay?
Hmm.
For the F, if a song's in the key of F and you want to play a minor, okay? F minor would be F, A flat as the easy play, and then add the C for the three-finger full chord. The relative minor would be D minor, and that would be D, F, and then A for the three-finger chord. And last but not least, the G. I don't see that many songs in easy playing G, but if you did and you wanted to do the G minor, it would be G, B flat for the easy play, and add the D for the three-finger chord. And then the relative minor would be E minor, which would be E and G for the easy play, and then add B for the three-finger chord. Now, this will be posted on our Patreon channel, so if you need a reminder on this, go watch it on Patreon. If you're not a Patreon member, well, this might give you a good reason to become a Patreon member. All right, last thing on rhythm styles, and I'm going to go on to some other cool things. And that is some of the models that I mentioned today have a button called Alter Style. And all that button does is exactly what it says. It just alters the style. So if I put on let's see here. How about I put on, let me try something a little bit different here. What's this say? Oh, this says razzmatazz. Okay, let's hear razzmatazz. Just what are the plain old F chord. Now listen to that. Again, if you do a minor chord, now watch this. Oh! Far out. Oh, I just love that. Anyway, now, to hear the difference with an alter style, you just really have to have it playing. I don't know why I did the introduction. I just like the introduction of that. But here's the rhythm as it's going. Now, sometimes when you press alter style, it's going to be a subtle change, and sometimes it's going to be drastic. I don't know what it's going to be here, but we'll find out. Here's alter style. So you can see, you can still play the same song with it, but the band just changes. If I put on, let's see, we'll put on a Latin. Someone said Latin earlier. Let me put on Trios Romanticos. This is a smooth style, so it might be a subtle change. Okay, so there it is. Let's put on ultra style and see what happens. Oh, guitar player changes. So each one is going to be something totally different or a little bit different. Let's see here. Let me put on one more here. Oh, actually, I opened up with a style called Surf's Up, which sounded like this. Okay. You have to do this. Now, if you put on alter style, you probably heard this happening. It's because I hit alter style. Boy, if you want to burn some calories, put on that style. So just another way of exploring and utilizing your styles. So essentially what happens with the alter style button, some of the models that have it, it's almost like taking all the ones you have and doubling them. It's pretty amazing because it totally changes it. Now on the ballads and the soft and easies, those kind of styles, it might be a little bit more subtle, not so drastically different, okay? All right, now, so we got all these wonderful styles, and of course we need to have some great sounds, right? Now, if you're using your instrument the way I hope you're using it, I'm going to encourage, again, if you're not, three different ways to get a lot of great setups. All right, we'll start over here and work my way back over. So if you ever hear us teach in a class, and we will commonly say the words rhythm preset or style setup. So for many years, Lowry called rhythm preset on their models, they called it rhythm preset. And what it does is when you select a rhythm, like we've been doing, and you have rhythm preset on, depending on the model, some have 5, some have 10, some have 8, etc. Okay, if rhythm preset is on, whatever amount of buttons you have extra on the instrument is the amount of rhythm presets you get. So the one that's lit up is considered 0. So this one has 10 buttons. So 10 plus 0, that means 11. So in this case, there's 11 rhythm preset, different setups for every rhythm that's on the organ. Now this one happens to have, I give or take 70 styles, okay? So 70 styles, 74 styles times 11, do the math. That's a lot, right? Over the years, rhythm preset was the terminology they used since 1990. And whenever we taught a class on organs, button pushing, you know, someone new to the organ world, the hobby, they'd say, what does rhythm preset mean? And what we would respond is, well, rhythm preset sets up the organ when you press one of your favorite styles. So if you chose country, a country style, rhythm preset set it up with, in this case, 11 great setups. We said the word setup a lot, and so Lowry probably figured out, you know what, maybe we ought to just call it setup, and that's what it is. So if you ever hear us teach in a class, and we say use your rhythm preset or style setup, it's basically meaning the similar function, okay? So it depends on the series you have. Now, on the style setup, some of the models, they're a little bit different, but functionally, operationally, it works the same, all right? So having said that, I encourage people, use your style setups if you aren't already, and go through them because you'll find some things. Now, some of the organs have on the screen, when you turn it on, in the screen, it'll tell you what sounds are on the top and the bottom every time, okay? Which I think is a very clever feature. So as I was playing here earlier, I was pushing some of the setups. I was looking, and I was like, I didn't like that one. I don't want to use that sound. And I found one that I like, all right? So here's how this works. Real simply, and you probably, again, if you're not using it, great, use it. And if you are, great. So I'm going to pick, we'll put on a gospel category, and I'm going to use one of my variations until I see something. Oh, here's one. Nolan's Pianist. All right. Intro. Now, this is Nolan's Pianist. So as you can tell, it's a pianist style. Now, as I go through the setups, notice the change, not just in the sound, but what happens to the band. Now, for those of you who have your video, give me a number from 1 through 8. Just put it on your, go like this. Pick a number. Okay, I see a 3. So I'm going to start off with 0, and then I'll go to 3 next. Here we go. Here's number 3. Give me another number while I'm playing. I got to see a 4 and a 5. going to throw in my altar stop for the heck of it. All right, another number, 1 through 8. Okay, here we go. Here's... Yeah. So those were just randomly using the numbers, the presets that some of you were calling. And then I'll do another example for those of you who have this over here. Let's see, or similar. How about I pick a category like, oh, you know what? What month is this? August? September? It'll be September tomorrow. September, October, November. 3 months away from Christmas. I know it sounds like a long ways away, but it comes around faster than we realize, right? I always tell people, if you love playing those holiday and Christmas songs, start taking your books out now and working on them. So that way, when it's time to have your little personal parties, or you want to have your celebrations, or you want to just play a lot of great songs, don't wait till November to try to learn those songs, right? So I'm going to put on Sleigh Bells, all right, introduction. And I've got my rhythm preset in this case, and then I'm going to hit the same numbers, and then any other after that, and watch what you get. Yeah, pretty cool, huh? So that was Sleigh Bells was the name of the style, and of course Jingle Bells. Now, another little thing as I was doing it, I was realizing is when we're playing music, you got your music here, we're focused on the obvious, right? Left hand, right hand, got to play the notes. And we're playing along. Sometimes we don't push a lot of presets, but maybe we do, depending if the song comes up. Don't underestimate the power of a simple button called fill or FX, okay? So on the A series models, the SU series models, they have a button called FX, all right? A lot of people ask, why did Lowry call it FX? Well, I have a couple theories. I don't know the actual answer, but I have a couple theories. First of all, no other company had the word FX for the button to do what it does. So I wonder if they did it for patent reasons, copyright reasons. But essentially what it's doing is it's a fill-in, okay? So subsequently they called it fill-in on all the other models. So it's exactly the same thing. But what is a fill-in doing? It's giving the style an effect. So I believe that's why they call it effects, all right? So same thing, but as I was playing that style, I don't know if you saw on this model here, I put my hand over here. And it gave me the fill-in, all right? Or it lit up the FX, which is the fill-in, okay? Don't underestimate the power of the fill-in, because sometimes if you hold the fill-in down, it'll do things that'll really just give your song some more personality and character. In that case, it brought out some horses and the whip and what have you. There was the touch bar. I also, when I play, I do it a lot, but I have a tendency of using my right foot switch, okay, which they have. Almost all of the models that were encouraged to come today, I think not almost all of them, I can actually safely say all of them, on your expression pedal to the right you have a fill switch. You just tap it, okay? Now some people have difficulty with that. It takes a little practice of doing it, but there are other ways. Some of the models have this little touch bar here. You just touch it while you're playing it. That helps. You can put your foot on the kick switch. Some of you have the option of selecting a fill on the pedals down here. You know, these sticks that most people don't like to play. So if I'm playing, let's see, actually, when I played Wipeout, the Surf's Up rhythm, I don't know if you noticed it, but when I was playing, you heard this part of the song just like the original recording. Listen. And I just changed the chord. All right. Well, I was holding the fill in down the whole time. That's how I got that. That was it. I see some aha moments happening. Oh, that's how I did that. I just do it naturally sometimes, and I forget sometimes. Oh, I probably should share that. Now, if you're not good with the foot switch, there's a couple tricks if you want to get in the habit of doing it. Here's the trick. Here's what I suggest. Put your master volume of the organ at a level. Put your expression pedal at 100%, your foot. Okay? Your right foot expression pedal, the volume pedal. Put it at 100% and then turn the master down. Have the rhythm on, have something going on so it doesn't get any louder than you want it to be. So like when I did the sound check for today, I put my master volume at 3 dots, right in the middle. My volume pedal's at 100%, but it's at 3 dots. So I know that this is as loud as I need it for my ears, and it won't blast out anybody that's sitting here as well. So now my foot can go at 100%, but it won't go any louder than the way I've got. It's kind of like a governor on the cars. Remember the governors? And they have them now still, right? So when your foot is solid on the ground, you don't have to worry about trying to keep it steady because you got it at full throttle. But you have the volume governed so it doesn't blast you out either. Unless you have a neighbor you don't like, then you maybe want to turn up the master volume. Okay? Now your foot's steady, and when you need to use the switch, you can slide it and you don't have to worry about keeping the volume steady. Okay? So that's a trick to get used to using that. But you say, Robert, you know what? I paid a lot of money for this organ. I heard there was a feature on it that I don't have to go through all those little things, turning the master and all this. Well, yes, you're all right. So a lot of the models, and I believe this has it too, don't quote me on that, but I know we have the touch bar. So the foot switches down, these pedals that most people don't like to play, there's a thing called pedal magic. And when I touch it on my right above the dashboard here, the wood panel here, it says long and short, getting close. And what it does is long and short and get close means I can play pedals without hitting the wrong note. But that's not what I want. And if I go over one more, it says fill. So it just means that those pedals down there, whenever I press my foot on the pedal, it's going to activate the fill. Now, I'm going to angle my camera down so you can see this. Okay. Same rhythm. And when I put fill here on all of these pedals, when I put it on the pedals, it actually assigns it to the entire pedal board. Why, you ask? When you're playing, if they assigned it to just one pedal, if you're playing, the last thing that Larry wanted you to do is take your music off your eyes off the music and have to look down and go like this. It defeats the purpose of making it easy for you, okay? So when I activate this, put this fill option on the pedals, all I have to know is that when I'm playing, all I have to do is stomp anywhere and it'll activate the fill, okay? So we'll put on the rhythm I just had, and before I hold it, I'll just tap it a few times. Here we go. All right, here we go. All right, can you see that? Can you hear it? Here we go, here we go. Now, I pressed my foot and held the fill, and then I let it go after so many measures, just so you could hear how you can do that. Now, the bigger models, obviously, you have that option too. You can program your touch bars, your right and left foot switches, and the pedals if you want. So you have 3 different options there. All right. Now, in this case, if I want to do what I was showing you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Please hold the applause. No, stop it. Hold the applause, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, my goodness. I got a rowdy crowd here. I don't know how she does it, but she can sound like 100 people. Okay. A couple more things, just some bonus things, things that you have already that maybe you'll think differently of using. Okay? Category presets or setups. They call them category presets or category setups. And every model's different. Some have 1, some have 2, some have 3. This one here happens to have 4. It says country, big band, Latin, and scared. I'm sorry, sacred. I read it wrong. You don't want to have scared. All right. And all the category presets or setup do, they are additional setups to what you already have. Remember the rhythm preset. But they're very specific to that style of music. However, this is the common misperception. Let's see, I have symphonic, jazz, swing, country, modern, Latin, and nostalgic, all right? So here's the common misperception, that if I want to use the jazz swing category, now think about jazz and swing music, and think about music instruments of that. Most people would say trombones, clarinets, jazz guitars, trumpets, right? Those type of things. You think country category, country guitar, fiddles, pianos, harmonicas, So every category of music has instruments that relate to that. A lot of times the misperception is I have to use jazz and swing for any kind of music that I want to play, jazz or swing. That's not necessarily the case, okay? So here's an example. I'm going to put on, let me try a different one here. Let's see. How about I play, oh, here's one. I'm going to put on a ballroom Latin style, and I'm going to use the jazz swing category. And I'm just going to use my 1 through 8 here. So that was the jazz swing category, and I played a Latin style, and it worked perfectly for that. So don't get caught up in thinking you have to play that same style of music that fits that. They're categories for a reason, that you can play them with any category of style of music. All right? Now, one other cool thing that we have is song setups. Yes, song setups. Now, song setups is a pretty simple feature to use. Okay? You simply press song setup on the organ. And the idea of song setup, and every model has a certain number. So a Regency, for those of you who have that, has 50 song setups. The Easy 4 and the 10 has 100. The Odyssey has 100. The Premier has 200. The Legacy has 300. The Fanfare has, I don't know the exact number. I want to say close to 300. Journey has a little bit more than that, right? Each one has a lot of song setups and some more than others. But it's very simple and easy to use. But there's a couple of little tricks that I like to use with it. So, for example, first of all of the models, with the exception of the Journey, okay? I know see a couple Journey owners out there. The Journey, this one, I get this phone call a lot. Something's wrong with my organ. They messed up the order of the song setups. Every organ in the world that I know of, the song setups are in alphabetical order, A through Z. So if I start it off, it starts up with the letter A. Okay? They all do. When you just power it up. And I forget what the first one is, all the organs, but it starts with the letter A. If I go up and scroll through A's, B's, C, you can go in that direction. My student was leaving, so I had to say goodbye. Sorry. So you go through alphabetically. So if I want to find a song like, well, I can't think of any right now, but a song that starts with the letter D, I might scroll through that way. If I want to find a song that starts with an S, like 76 trombones, rather than going A, B, holding the scroll A, B, C, D, I might go backwards. So go Z, go through the songs with Z, Y, W, and et cetera, okay? Now, the exception to the rule for you Journey owners, let's see if I can get this right. Maybe Sean can correct me on this. So I'm going to power up the organ from scratch, and I'm going to put song setup. Let me turn it on first. Okay? And the first one says Ach du lieber. Now if I go up, it'll go alphabetical, like I said. Let me go back to that now. Let me go back to the one that is started. But if I go backwards, something interesting happens. It almost starts going backwards in alphabetical order as well. And pay very close attention to this. Let me make sure I say it right too. And here's why. The Journey is basically the design of the instrument. For some of you have the Fanfare. As you know, it looks like the Fanfare. It was the Fanfare cabinet, the same panel, everything the Fanfare had, and they basically added all this other goodies to it. So what Lowry did on the Journey is the additional song setups. Instead of changing it in the song setup list, they added it in a certain section. So if I want all of the Journey song setups, the additional ones, if I go down, it doesn't go to Z. It goes alphabetically in order for about, do you know how many it goes, Sean? 40, 50?
Sorry, how many what?
How many of the Journey additional song setups there are? Do you know?
Oh, goodness. Yeah, I can't remember.
I
the
think
number.
it's about 35 or 40. I don't
Yeah.
quote me on that. But so what happens is it'll go through all of those. And if I'm going down, I'll see an alphabetical order. And then when I get to the Z, then it picks up back in the original list. All right. So if you're noticing that it goes A's alphabetical order both directions, that's why. Okay. And so I'm just going through and when I get to T, Y, there it is. You're the one that I want. And then it goes to Z, zippity doo-dah. Now it's back in alphabetical order going the other direction. So just kind of for you Journey owners out there. All right. So I'll finish up with a fun one here. Probably need the music for this. All right. So with that said, do I have any questions about anything that I covered today? I covered a lot. No? No questions at all?
Robert,
Yes.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
You said like if you press the standards full band, right?
Yes.
If you press the pianist or guitarist, does it have group 2 also, like the full band?
Okay, you have the fanfare?
Yeah.
Okay. So because the fanfare and journey are very similar in their setup, but there's one little difference between the two. So I'm going to say it again for the both of you. So on the fanfare, this panel is labeled the same, okay? So far, so good? Okay.
Yeah.
You have full band pianists and guitarists. That's the same. But here's the difference. On the fanfare, when you push standard, okay, you get one full band, and if you want the second one, you have a group 2 button here.
Okay.
All right? If I do country full band and I want the second one, I push the group 2 on or off. So essentially, when I put standards in full band, I get one. If I put group 2, I get another one. All right? If I put standards in pianist, I get one. And if I put the group 2, I get another one. And if I put full band and guitarist and I put group 2, I get another one. So you have 2 full band standards, 2 piano standards, and 2 guitarists. Okay?
Okay.
All right. And etc. on all of the other ones. In other words, it continues that way. Now, a couple of journey owners, so that you don't go look and say, where's that group 2 button that Robert mentioned? All right. On the journey, when you push standard, okay, group 1 and 2 show up on the screen automatically. And then you'll see 2 others. Okay. I know I see a couple journey owners out there. So I always like to clarify that because a lot of times someone will go looking for one or the other, and vice versa. On the fanfare, they'll go, Robert said something about on the screen. No. So there's 2 different ways of accessing the styles, okay? And so that's just how they do it. So and then if you're not sure, watch the video again, and you can watch what I just said. rewind, play until you finally get it. And then if that doesn't work, then call your personal assistant. What did Robert say? All right. Now, last but not least on the style, since I'm on that point, and I'm going to go back to the song setup, there's a feature on some of the models, and you have to check your organ. Not all the models have it, but I know some of them do. But if you go to this feature here, there's a feature called Style List. This is pretty cool too. I know some of the big organs have it, but when you select Style List, it'll give you every name of the rhythm style that's in the organ. So if this organ has 100 and, I don't know, 50, or this one, whatever the number, it'll go, you can scroll through and see every rhythm style alphabetically in the organ. Okay? So I want to point that out since I did talk about styles. Now, back to song setup. So the cool thing about song setups that you should know by now, and if you don't, just make a little mental note. If you go through your list of song setups, even if you have only 100 or even 200 or 250 or 300, if you look at the song setup list, you'll notice that there are probably some songs in there that I might not ever play that song, just simply because it's not a favorite of yours. But don't underestimate the power of a song setup that you may find that will work for another song. So I'll give you a couple examples, and then I'll close off with one that I really like. So I'm going to just scroll through, and I'm going to try to find a song that I normally wouldn't play, and then I'm going to use it to play another song. So let me just go through. Let's see. Okay. Now here's one that I normally don't play. I don't play it a lot in concert. It's a pretty song, but I just don't play it a lot. Okay. It's not that I don't like the song either, which is kind of interesting. It's just not one that I go, I got to put this in my little concert repertoire. But it says always on my mind. Okay. So if I push select, it gives me a setup. And I could play Always on My Mind with it. Let's play a little bit of that. Works nicely for that, but as I hear that style, I think I might have some songs that I really like to play that maybe I need a different rhythm style for it. So let me try this and see what happens. I got Jerome in the background trying to help. He was going to put on the applause on an organ that's not hooked up or plugged in. And I have to constantly remind you, they won't hear it. Anyway, another round of applause for me. So, now does anybody want to know what the name of that style was? I don't know if you can guess. I was surprised it actually worked. Now, did you notice too, while you're thinking about that, I did what I suggested. Go through the setups. As I was going through them, I finally found one that I really, really liked. You're going to... Yeah, you can. Anybody know what the name of the style was? All right, first of all, do you know the name of the song?
Somewhere
Somewhere out there.
Out-
Yeah,
out there.
a real pretty ballad. The style I used was called,
Always on my mind.
no, Always on My Mind was the song setup.
Ooh.
Okay? On this organ, it chose soft country. Always on My Mind, they probably did soft country because of Willie Nelson or what have you. So that worked great for, but I also tried it with that and it worked great for that as well. So it just goes to show you that and you want to know something? I never used soft country. Now I'm going to start using it. I've never played that song with that style, which basically reinforces what I said. Using song setups of songs you normally don't play and just listen to it. You may get you may get an idea for another song. It's just a way of maximizing what you have because we tend to go to the things we know we think we're going to like. Okay? So the last song setup I'm going to do here is another one of those. I'll play the song that it's designed for. It's kind of a fun song. But then I like to play another song using it. So let me find it, go backwards. But while I'm doing this, Sean, can you get to the internet and log on to patreon.com? So I'm going to put this up, post it in the next few days. And I mentioned several times, if you need to go back and watch and listen, sometimes it's good to go back, watch and listen, pause, rewind. And on our Patreon site. Now, Patreon, we post all of our recorded classes, all of our concerts, and bonus content. A lot of times you see stuff on here that you don't see on our YouTube channel. And so if you become a patron, you'll get access to all of that. If you're not a patron but you want to follow, there's actually a way to do that. So Sean's going to pull that up on the screen while I'm finding my next song that I'm playing.
Yeah, so if you look at this, this is if you're not a patron, you get access to a lot of the videos that we put up and a lot of the classes we do. But if you become a patron, that just means you click on this button and you can give a small monthly contribution, and then you actually get bonus content. So you get extra stuff from us, videos, and sometimes we'll put a little behind the scenes stuff we did before, and concerts, and all sorts of extra goodies. So anytime you see something that says like this, unlock this post, that's what you get. You get some classes by Dawn, some extra classes by Carrie, all sorts of cool stuff.
Now, right there, a couple things. Leave it on. See where it says following? So Sean is a follower. So what happens is you'll get notifications whenever these things get posted by following us. And if you're a patron, you obviously get the notification. The other thing she mentioned about Dawn and Joni, Dawn does more classes, but Joni does this occasionally as well. But Dawn will occasionally handwrite introductions to songs that you won't find in Easy Play Music. And so she'll go above and beyond, and I'll tell you, I think it's the contribution monthly is worth just one of those, and she does that several times throughout the month in a lot of her classes. So that's just one of the many things that we offer. And last but not least, I do want to let you know that we had, for the last 10 days, we had a really great opportunity going on in our company where we had some of our students were able to deal with me directly on some very special units, organs like the Journey and Inspires and Prestige, what have you. That is continuing for another couple of days. So if anything on that list, or if you have been thinking about your next model, my phone number is all over the world now, which is a dangerous thing to do. So, but if you want to get in touch with me or ask your staff member, we have some really phenomenal opportunities. And of course, as always, all of this is just beneficial, not just for you, but it also benefits and contributes to the Fletcher Music Club and our club benefits. So reach out to your staff members if you've been thinking about your next model, okay? And last but not least, I have a song setup here that I found. And the song setup was called You're the One That I Want. So it obviously set up a style, in this case, called You're the One. Now, I believe I have the song. Oh, here we go. I do have the song, You're the One That I Want. So I'll try to play this. But partway through, I'm going to decide to use it for another song as well. So this is another one of those. I know some people say, well, that song is not, I like that song. Sometimes I play it, sometimes I don't. But you can get so many other little things. And last but not least, at the very end, I'm going to hit my Fake It button and put on my Auto Fake It. So listen for that. I used the Fake It earlier with the Wipeout. I forgot to tell you. I did it. And this time I'll use it again. So I'll close with a Fake It somewhere in there. So here we go.
Yeah, ask you.
Here we go. Come on. Walter style. Here we go. Make it. Here we go. All right, you know that's gonna sound good with a guitar. Here we go. Little rock guitar here. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Please, please stop all the applause. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much. Well, we hope you enjoyed today's session, and it was worth getting on today. I know some of you are in a different time zone, so hopefully you had your dinner first and kick back and watch with some wine or whatever it is that you'd like to do at this time of the hour. Anyway, so thank you so much. And as always, stay safe, please. Keep playing music. And mwah. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Fantastic
Thank
job.
you, Robert. That
Thank
was
you.
awesome.
Thank
Thank you. We'll see you real soon.
Okay.